Oh, look, a cat cam that's not actually here. Whoop. It was never there, guys. It was never there. Let's do it. Let's do it to it. It's a ZVZ between these two guys. These two European Zergs. How many of those can it possibly be? I bet these are the last two European Zergs in existence. Probably. Forget that guy named Cyril. He's not here today. Spoiler alert, he actually is here today. Just in case anyone's actually confused about the format. In which case, you know, I will go ahead and explain it after the introductions. In the bottom right, as the red Zerg, it is Elazer. In the top left, as the blue Zerg, it is Reynor. Okay, so, as we see 16 pools, or sorry, 16 hatches go down here. So nothing sneaky from either side. If you haven't been, you know, keeping up with WCS, or maybe you're kind of confused because it's a little different than last year, well, then you're probably not the only one, so don't feel bad. I'll do another spiel of this, I suppose, maybe in like a couple hours when more people have joined in, as today will be a longer day. We're doing both Europe and North America today, as well as tomorrow, kind of split up, like 5 series today for EU and 5 for NA tomorrow, something like that, whatever. Anyways, you're not alone. So, WCS Winter has been going on for the past couple of, well, months, I suppose. But the majority of it happened in February. And I mean, all of it recently has, I guess, happened in February. And then you had to take a huge break away from continuing WCS Winter, which was happening on the weekends. Well, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for 3 weeks. And there was a huge break in March because there were so many other tournaments happening. And now we're back for the round robin, which you might be like, well, since when has there been a round robin? Well, since they wanted to get a little experimental with the format, since they had maybe more flexibility with it being not at a venue for just 3 days, but rather at a studio for multiple days. And as such, we have what is one of the, considered one of the more fair ways of actually doing any type of tournament. If it was possible in StarCraft to do a round robin, you know, the entire tournament, that might actually be what would be preferred, but that would take an extremely long time, and in that case, probably would not be preferred. But for the round of 8, we can do this, especially since they did go ahead and hire a couple of additional streams. There's so many games, it would be unlikely to do them all on the main stage. It would be straight impossible, but it does provide a lot of fairness and a lot of awesome games for you guys. Now, this does mean, as we watch both people take their bases, so completely normal ZVZ, that, you know, the couple first matches, like, might not actually matter, and we do go into that, you know, weird tiebreaker situation that you guys might have seen during the IAM tournaments that lasted pretty much a week long, where it's, you know, goes down to the nitty-gritty of, like, oh, who won against who, and all that type of stuff. But on top of that, playing Scuffle shouldn't be too important. Bailing Nest versus no Bailing Nest, though. Reynor is trying to be a little bit greedy here. So he's gonna make a lot of lings, then go for an attack, but then actually behind it add on a Roach Warren. So Elazer might, you know, waste, quote-unquote, a Bailing Nest, money, gas, and then also on a couple of Banelings. We'll see how effective this is, but to get my spiel out of the way, you guys have to check Wikipedia to really understand this. I think it's the best way to do it instead of listening to me, because it'll be weird just, like, trying to listen to it and figure it out. Graphics always help, but basically these guys are not being, like, you know, immediately put into the round of 4 if they get top 2 in the group or something like that. They actually get placed in different sections of the final bracket depending on their performance, but guaranteed bottom 2 of the round robin does get just completely out of WCS Winter, so that much you can depend on, and otherwise you are just, like, seeing who gets to the maybe even up to the finals, I think, but kind of a weird ladder type of thing. But as I said, you should probably check Wikipedia for that, which you can type ! bracket, again, for the visual guide, visualization, which is always helpful. So, Reynor did the thing. He attacked with his lings, forced Elazer to make his own certain number of lings, and then Elazer could try and go for a counter, but Reynor already has roaches, and he did not add an evolution chamber here, and he's continuing to make lings too, so this isn't the follow-up. Oh, actually, hold on here. He is making drones again. Okay, so maybe just after taking, you know, maybe seeing a little too many lings for comfort, Reynor decided to go for not just a couple of roaches or just roaches. He actually made quite a few units. Now, I feel like Reynor just kind of got shit back, if you know it. Well, I mean, okay. 2 spine crawlers being put down. Yeah, that's supposed to be kind of hard for them to read. Like, either Reynor did kind of, like, overreact to what he saw and should not have built so many of X and Y here, or he meant to scare Elazer. And, I mean, regardless of his intent, I do believe he did scare Elazer, because you usually wouldn't see two spine crawlers in this situation if they are both macroing, but Elazer must have seen the army size, how many more lings are still on the way, maybe... I actually wouldn't. He didn't dick in. Oh, God. Oh, God. I did it. I did it. I mixed two words, and it became a bad word. Don't tell WCS, guys. Oh, God. He dipped in. He didn't dip in. He didn't see the Evolution Chamber, so... I don't know. Two spine crawlers, around 40-ish workers. He only just went up to 49. That is a little painful. We'll see if it affects the game that much. +1 missiles on the way for both parties as Reynor did go for an Evolution Chamber. I just missed it somehow. I'm completely blind. It's early in the morning. Whatever. Excuses, excuses. Reynor has been getting a couple of drone kills. He got 2 earlier with his attack, and then just got 4 more. But anyways, he also was droning just a little bit harder past that point of building the lings and the roaches, because the Elazer, again, might have expected an attack that wasn't actually on the way. So the ebb and flow of ZVZ, how it is, you know, you kind of see something and then you gotta immediately choose, and, you know, under a second, basically, like, hey, do I build army or do I build drones? And if you build nothing but drones and they're actually building army, you probably just die. So, I mean, this all results in a very equal worker count now. Again, equal upgrades. The lair is a little bit later for Reynor, but close enough that the roach speed probably wouldn't be an issue. We will probably see some form of a Nidus play today, if not in this literal game, since we are getting into that kind of standard roach versus roach. But you can kind of quickly check the income graph and see that Reynor did in fact have more peaks than Elazer, because he did have, like, at one point 10 more drones, or even a little bit more. Thank you, Papa Mitch, for the Twitch Prime sub. Appreciate it. 4th base on the way for Reynor is seen by Elazer, so Elazer should be getting his own. And there it goes. Spire is on the way for Reynor. Now, there's 2 ways you can check for this. One is just seriously getting a check on the Spire, which is, you know, prime. Okay, there we go. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. He had Overlord speed and an Overseer. It's really hard to stop that with just Queens. Not impossible, I suppose, but pretty darn hard. Or you could have maybe seen that all 6 gases were taken this quickly and are actually being mined, which, yeah, should at least tip you off, if not just straight up tell you. Although Elazer also got up to 4 gas, all 6 gases, pretty quickly. But he's also going into a Hydralist sense, so I didn't actually see exactly when the 6th gas went down. He's adding a second Evolution Chamber, playing into the more defensive stance. Now, Reynor, with his Spire, he's also getting that +2 missile. It's not going to go, like, really, really heavy on the Spire. So, in a way, you know, you don't really even want to make that many Hydras. In a lot of scenarios, you know, you get concaved upon. Sometimes those Hydras actually don't look as good as they once did. I remember back, you know, in Wings of Liberty, or was it Heart of the Swarm? Either way, like, Hydras, it was the old, you know, oh, these are banelings! I thought they were roaches. Ew. Ew, that's nice. I mean, he kills 10 drones, but Elazer is out of position for this attack now. He was so busy, well, actually just doing a baneling drop, but also wanting to get into Hydras that wasn't in position to save that. So quick, easy snipe, and then Reynor even pounces on top of the Roach army, but there are Ravagers here. There was a Spine Crawler there. Of course, Defender's Advantage will kick in, and I think Elazer will hold, but here come the Mutas. The Queens, one of them is going to go down, another one is alive. We don't have any Spore Crawlers, but here come the Hydras, and will that be enough? It might not be. I mean, we're at half the roaches here for Elazer, so even though Defender's Advantage would usually kick in, we have this extra damage, just a little bit of extra damage added by the Mutas, and those Hydras still are not popping. What the hell? Pop already. There we go. Looks like Defender's Advantage finally kicked in with the help of the drone pool, but he had to pull drones. That's the key thing here, right? I went ahead and lost 12 workers, so it kind of evens up that baneling attack, but, right, Elazer lost the 4th base as well. So, net gain for Reynor here, and going back to the discussion about the Hydras, as I was saying, like, you know, they were kind of like, oh, you get the DPS, like, that's amazing, right? And yeah, DPS is very good on the Hydras, but sometimes their cost isn't quite worth it. You see a lot of remaxes on the pro level, so having a big bank sometimes looks better, and then also in the concave, we all know Hydras are glass cannons, so it's this weird effect, you know? It used to be when I think there was less micro and less intensity to ZVZ, let's be real, it wasn't always a great matchup. Hydras would be like, yeah, you just kind of move into the army and I had Hydras and I guess I won. But now I think it's a lot more complicated than that, so we'll see how much Elazer really delves into this, and then also if he has a chance to get into lurkers as the game continues to move on forward, despite Reynor's extreme advantage at this point. Elazer, I mean, he was lucky enough to kind of even up the worker count to what it could have been, but on a very unideal mining, you know, his main base already kind of mined out, Natural is getting there, so the loss of a 4th base at that time was actually crucial. Maybe if it was like 6 minutes, it wouldn't really matter, but that would be extremely fast with this. So I think Reynor is just going to go ahead and close out the game here. If Elazer had lurkers right now, that might be a different story, but he doesn't, so. Will these couple extra Hydras really add enough? Will the +1 Carapace kick in? I suppose eventually it will. Sorry, there's an attack on the main base. Elazer never put up Spore Crawlers, it looks like, so kind of cutting a corner there if they can get the Hydras fast enough, and he was, well, wrong on multiple accounts, so that was just icing on the cake. GG. Thank you, Zando Sec, for the Twitch Prime sub. And I make the lobby. Gotta remember that. Automaton. So much to do. Audio's fine. Ugh, I guess. And Reynor is already ready, so let's do it. We got Blizz Obs. I feel like I'm missing someone. Also, I actually made myself ref. Oops. Habits. Darn it. WCS overlay got me again. Oh, it got me. Oh, and there's certain... Oh, crap. As official lobby host, I suppose I have to keep track of... Oh, my God. No one saw that. I have to keep track of... Okay, Elazer's also 12 pulling. Alright, then. Their colors, so my bad. But anyways, in top right, red, it is Reynor. Oh boy, he's going for 17 hatch. Oops. In the bottom left, as the blue Zerg, it is Elazer going for the all-in version here, so with gas. Okay, Reynor. You know, both of them last game went for a 16 hatch. Kind of gives you that equal timing of the queens. Doesn't seem like a big difference, and I honestly thought that, you know, queens already basically popped out at the same time, but no. If you go for a 16 hatch, it pops out just a little bit more on time. A little bit sooner, I suppose. And maybe you can get to the ramp a little bit sooner, you add the DPS a little bit sooner, and so on and so forth. So, you know, if you are up against an early pool, obviously going for one of your own, I guess, is, you know, ideal. although it gets kind of weird. But then on top of that, you know, the next step, if you're going to try and do a hatchery, would be the 16 hatch. Well, it didn't happen here. And he did go for that gas before the pool as well. So, you know, there's maybe a 16 hatch and then pool and then gas type of build out there, which really gives you just a little bit of a bump on your attacking units. This isn't it. This is the old, okay, I think we're both going to do the macro thing, or I have a lot of confidence in my micro, which, hey, Reynor might just. He is up one game, and he does have some pretty good micros. So, Elazer going for the cheese, one of the shorter maps. Isn't going to show his lings, you know, directly underneath this Overlord, which would have gotten a heck of a lot of notice to Reynor, you know, as far as mental preparation goes. So he's going the long way around. There's no chance to maybe jump on top of lings that are spawning or on top of a queen because they kind of mistimed or something like that. But you do get that extra little bit of, okay, uh-oh moment coming into Reynor's mind right now. Yeah, so you don't see any hatchery finishing up maybe, and you don't see any creep spread as well. And then you see more and more lings come out from here. And then as the seconds pass by, you also realize, hey, they are never getting a hatchery because they're actually attacking with everything they got. So Reynor adds a spine crawler to the main base, a Bailey nest as well as Queen. Unfortunately, couldn't do anything about the ramps. He tries to get into the best possible spot. He's trying to save it with the drones as well. That was a decent pull of the drones if it was like 4 seconds faster because the Baneling wasn't quite ready to go. But if the Baneling was ready to go, then the drones are in deep doo-doo. So they just pull back into the main. Reynor gives up the hatchery. I mean, if you actually save your hatchery against this attack, well, then that's pretty impressive. Spinecrawler plus Queen combination should be able to take out what is usually a very low amount of Banelings. So we're up to 4 right now, which is getting to that scary part. You know, hopefully they would have already tried to use one. Oh, that one was pretty good. That one was all right. You'll be very conservative with your Banelings as the aggressor. It seems like the best thing to do is just immediately take out the army, but that's, or take out the drones rather, but it's not always the best case. So Reynor, with his quick thinking, the Spinecrawler really helps out here. The Baneling nest also is already done, and Banelings are already made. He does still have a lot more workers. Elazer, though, went for the... I'm not sure he went for the Nosa Overlord, because his hatchery is now just put down. But the point is, he is going for a hatchery, deciding that getting his opponent's hatchery was good enough damage, plus the contain here. It's kind of questionable if it is enough damage, though, really. He will have speed to kind of dominate the oh, yep, drone, you're gonna do it? Ah, no, I'm not gonna do it. You have speed to dominate the map, and as you can see here, he is using that speed to great effect. I mean, really trying to get Reynor to be a little overconfident, send all the Banelings down, and then maybe they get popped off, something like that, or maybe he doesn't make enough Banelings type deal. But Reynor, despite trying to get the hatchery one too many times, you know, losing a couple drones there, doesn't actually, oh, that was a bad Baneling hit, doesn't let the silly mistakes happen, you know, the ones that are like, oh, I obviously should have made another Baneling, oh, I should have kept that Queen alive or something, and then it snowballs. You don't want it to snowball. At this point, he's kind of good on the whole snowball effect. He has his own Banelings, he now has his own speed, and because his drone count wasn't really harmed, he has enough to afford to get everything. So it's all good. You know, a hatchery is done for Elazer, but he is down those drones. Is about to make up for that just literally right now, and because they both, again, have lings and banelings, you know, maybe you make a couple defensive, as we see here for Elazer. You are kind of reading into your overlords, which Elazer did not have one on the attack path here for a little while. He's fixing that right now, but that, I mean, maybe it could have been a mistake if he hadn't had his army presence on Reynor's side of the map for so long. But he knew there wasn't a bunch of lings being held up in the main base, which would maybe do the trick. But that's not Reynor's plan. Just droning up, droning for both sides. +1 Carapace. Reynor went for that evolution chamber in the main base. Did Elazer get any sign of that? No. That was after his attacks in the main base that just completely faltered. And that is, that could be a very big deal. This should be denied just by the Spinecrawler plus Queen. Or just by the Spinecrawler. There you go. Okay, good job, Spinecrawler. But we have Elazer going for this lair and a Roach Warren that's kind of hidden in the back. Now, this is Automaton. Getting a wall off on the front is unlikely, especially if you're not going to bother putting down creep spread, which I wonder if this is suspicious to Reynor. I mean, If he was gonna just go ahead and stay on 2 bases, he'd start trying to make a wall with Roachborn Evolution Chambers, and you need a Creep Tumor. So why wouldn't you put on a Creep Tumor? One, maybe your Roachborn is in the back, which it is, but also 2, you're saving up energy on the queens, and then he puts on a Creep Tumor. So my you know, perception of Elazer being like this 1,000 IQ god is now done with. I'm done with him. No, I'm just kidding. But it is interesting that he waited this long, because he is actually doing a Nidus Swarm, and bringing queens with a lot of transfuse energy is one of the ways that they can kind of tip the scales, actually force the snowball effect that he missed out earlier with the Lings. It looks like it'll just be for the roaches. There's the Nidus Swarm on the front lines. He is still building more queens. The Overlord of Reynor does see this. Well, the Lings see it, actually. And is he noticing? I think now he just saw it. I think we saw his Lings turn back. That was the indication. He starts his Roachborn right now. His +1 Carapace is like 10 seconds, 15 seconds away from finishing. It's so damn close, but he needs so many Lings to actually take this on. He'll have the Queen Transfuse to help out. He'll have a wall if he so desires up against the back of his Roaches, and there just isn't enough Lings. He would need like 50 Lings to help out here. With the queens and transfuses, of course, as well. And then maybe he would have been able to do it, but the transfuses are gone, the spine crawler is gone, and +1 Carapace does not help here. There's just way too much. Reynor going into maybe more of the map control. Hoping to play a bit longer into that mid-game, just gets kind of bopped by a Nidus Worm. But you could see, like, if his Lings were already ready to go, if he had stopped droning, if he knew this was on the way, then maybe, with the combination of the Baneling, Spinecrawler, Queens, then maybe the Lings would have been able to do it. I mean, look, the surround is happening with the drones. He's only lost 9 so far, and he is still pumping Queens and Lings. He cancels the +1 missile he was trying to get to, hoping that he could survive this phase of the game to get more units. And if he does, if he holds here, he actually is at a decent worker count with a 3rd base. Is he actually going to do this? Is Reynor gonna hold? Are you real? Oh, the Nidus Swarm to try and block maybe a little bit more on the... I'm not sure about the second Nidus Swarm, to be honest, but it's gonna be a backup Nidus Swarm, that's for sure. Oh, Elazer might be sweating right now. He probably thought, like I did, that he had it in the bag, but it was not so. And the drone count didn't, you know, against roaches, they're not that bad. Oh boy, Reynor, did he cancel the Roachborn? He did. Banelings try to connect as good as possible. Oh. He's gonna be playing like Ring Around the Rosie with Nidus Worms. This is so silly, but so amazing at the same time. You know, I feel like if Reynor had kept with the Roachborn, but you know what? Maybe he doesn't have enough gas to do that. I don't know. He's been putting all the Banelings. I don't know. That's a really, yeah, it's still a game. It's still a game. You know, if he was able to take out those like last 7 roaches on the high ground and then take out the Nidus Worm and then continue taking out the Nidus Worm, that's probably when he holds. You know, it's not a great game. It's a really sloppy game, but he does hold. But unable to take out the reinforcement line, yeah, the roaches still ended up dominating. But to be fair, Reynor really wasn't supposed to be able to hold it all, and he almost did. Anyways. Cool game. Cool. And the last game is Year Zero. Super long, super big map. Lots of Nidus Worms, I expect. I am not referee. I don't want to have that responsibility. What's up, guys? Okay, both for the right race. Let's do this. Try to keep track of how many observers are in here, so I'm just kind of hoping that they're all in. Don't you hate it when things pop up on a website and they kind of hide the X button? It's very mean. So it's all tied up into the ace match. As I said in the first game, you know, maybe these 1 or 2 first matches don't matter so much, but that's, you know, that's one way of looking at it. If it relieves the stress of the pro, then by all means look at it. But you all know those situations where you have a bad start, then you really could get a high gear for the last 3 or 4 matches, but because you still lost those first 2 series, it can really put you in a bind. Now, if you were to lose only 2 series, you're probably still going to advance. Again, it's only bottom 2 that get eliminated. But it's not quite accurate to say, like, oh, this match is just number 1. Like, oh, it doesn't really matter. You know, it could. It could. It could also just, you know, simply affect the momentum of any of these players, where they lose 1 game, and then they lose the 2nd series, and they lose the 3rd series. And while technically they can still make it out if they win the rest of them, it really gets hard to drag yourself up again. I know Stu did it, and he had wonderful results because of it, but it was incredibly unlikely at the time, and no one was really guessing he would be able to in the IAM bracket. So, you want to get that win. You want to get the ace match. So which one is it going to be? Which Zerg's going to make it to the 1-0 with 1 map taken off, I suppose. A map score does eventually matter. In the top left, it is the red Zerg, Reynor. In the top right is the blue Zerg. It is Elazer. We do have slightly different build openers. Looks like Elazer went for the gas a little bit later. You know, a good portion later, but it's been quite a while since I've seen a 30-40 gas difference result in anything impactful in the game. So one of those pool first or pool after hatcheries versus gas after hatchery builds. And we have speed started up for Reynor. Elazer, of course, still waiting for it, so do expect speed, but, you know, it's not always the case. We have a couple of people going for the... actually, he's already taken 1 guy off of gas. Interesting. They go for a very quick layer. They go for a Night Swarm. We have seen that. Or we have seen them go for the still wall off at the front. Elazer is skipping speed, despite still mining gas, despite having 100 gas, and he's going for the 3rd hatchery, a little bit ahead of his opponents, but it's not so much like, oh, he's a mastermind, he's delaying speed so he can get the 3rd base literally 2 seconds faster. Like, we should be doing something else with that gas. I do expect the Roach Warren Evolution Chamber wall off. There it is. So this is really tricky. Really tricky. You know, Reynor's gonna see the 3rd hatchery, whether with these Lings or with the Overlord eventually. He's gonna build a bunch of Lings to try and deny it, which is kind of, it's the expected thing to do, is to build at least like 16 Lings. Now, Reynor is building a little bit more than just the 16, as he already is bulking up a few, and there's even more being added on. He really wants to punish this 3rd base, and so far he doesn't see a lot of Lings responding by Elazer. He doesn't know about the Roach Warren, doesn't know about the lack of speed by his opponent yet, but this is exactly why what Elazer did is kind of troublesome. I mean, this is like the, you know, next step build where he doesn't even mean to take his 3rd base. He's like, aha, gotcha, I forced you to make Lings. Well, yeah, that's cool, I guess, but I'm thinking he was just hoping that Reynor wouldn't really dedicate to a bust here, and this is exactly what Reynor's doing. In fact, he's actually busting through this wall, gonna force a kill on an Evolution Chamber, I believe, and the Queens will clog up the rest of the hole, but that was a little scary. Uh-oh. Comes back in. There are a couple of roaches, but not enough, so drones are forced to be pulled here. Queens do have transfuses, and that will be enough. Doesn't even lose that many drones, so just a queen and a roach maybe, not even. A couple lings, I suppose. Not too bad. If Reynor was, you know, with even more lings than that, like he had 20 more lings behind that, then Elazer's probably dead. But Reynor did go back into droning, finding that cancel successful, and then goes into his own Roach Warren, and that's usually where this game goes into. The 2 base versus the 3 base, the economy versus the, well, actually, your economies are really not that bad at the start, even if you're on 2 bases, because you're not on a full saturation yet anyways. But, you know, if the speed lane player does continue to deny your 3rd base, then your economy does start to lag behind. It can be a trade-off. So, Elazer going for a now hidden hatchery. This is so risky by Elazer. I want to say there's nothing wrong with the good old, like, oh, I'm on 2 base, I'll get that 3rd base later, don't you worry about it. But maybe Elazer is finding something wrong with that and really wants to get that 3rd base up in time, but it's already been canceled once. It's still going to be long, you know, behind that of Reynor, so Elazer is just going for, you know, maybe more drones to transfer later on, which would then give him that economic boost. Well, we are now seeing a lot of units being made on both production tabs, +1 finishing up around the same time for both. Reynor did not go for a layer here. There we go. 6-minute layer. Obviously, it's going to be later than Elazer's, so there's no question about that, but it goes even a little bit later than that. Now, if Reynor's not going to go for an attack, then he doesn't really need speed. Defensively, speed can sometimes impact the game, but, it's usually alright not to have it. And he does push that off. Starts turning up again, but he got, like, he got quite a few roaches. I thought he was going to attack, but maybe more so just preparing for a 2-base attack, because he has not seen Elazer try and take a 3rd base, so that must be exactly what's going on here. You know, it's one part, oh, I get a freebie, quote-unquote, 3rd base, but it's also like I am getting so much bad information to my opponent. So that's really nice. Elazer also might be a little mindful about where he makes his drones and where he makes his actual units. It's really hard to do, though, as a Zerg player, to get that proxy, or the hidden hatch, sorry, and use it correctly. We did see a Nidus Worm on the production tab. It is in the natural, so Reynor hasn't seen it. I'm sure he's predicting it, though. And that's probably exactly what he predicted to make 15 roaches, was that the roaches, if they just come across the map, I mean, he has plenty of time to make that. But if it's a Nidus Worm and he doesn't see it, or sees it a little bit late, well, then if he doesn't have roaches, he's probably just dead. So caution, 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 caution. Gets another grab on what he believes is the 3rd base. Very finally. I was wondering what's taking so long about him seeing the creep, by the way. And this is another reason why hidden bases are so difficult for Zerg players, that their creep oftentimes gives them away. And the Nidus Worm to utilize to transfer drones, transfer army down here is a really cool idea. We're kind of really seeing the Brood War style of using these Nidus Worms or Nidus Canals back then. And that's cool, but I'm not sure it's going to be extremely effective. We are on high Nidus alerts in Reynor's base, so he has units kind of spread around looking for that. He does snipe this one. A couple roaches get in there just to be bothersome. Might be worth it, as Elazer just immediately sets down another Nidus Worm down to the south, and it's going to be unlikely that Reynor sees the ones that are more of reinforcement points, right? He can see the ones in his base, he can see the ones in his face, but not going to be able to find everything on this map. There could be one here, there could be one there. I mean, ugh. Unless you got Overlord speed and then just trying to, like, dot him around the map. Hydras or just to pop out, it can be a little difficult. But as long as he's able to respond, as long as he's able to figure out where they're coming from, he is still only on 3 bases, so responding to each base isn't the biggest deal, and we're not having Elazer really dedicate here. I mean, in fact, he was banking a ton of minerals and gas just now. I wonder what for. He does now build all those roaches. There we go. Maybe he was a little larva blocked because of the 3rd hatchery weirdness, but anyways, he was not really at a point where he could utilize the Nidus to be like, aha, my entire army is in front of yours before you even know about it. He didn't really have that big of an army, and Reynor has a huge army. He's up 40 army supply, and while he is now down an upgrade, it doesn't really matter. Burrow coming in, though. Reynor not predicting this fast of a burrow. Usually you see Zerg players with add on those overseers just in preparation, but not this time. So, you know, a couple of roaches, well, more than a couple, his entire army will live for now, but a Reynor so confident. There, he actually did have an overseer. You just need to put it in surveillance mode. There you go. Forces Elazer to pop up and try and defend, but Elazer's plans as cool as they were, I think they were, like, more fancy than they were solid, right? And Reynor, kind of by playing a normal game, ends up still coming out ahead. GG, Reynor takes game number 3, and we'll get that 1-0 for the round robin.